gay getaways.
In the 50s, there was smaller hotels, smaller resorts. They were basically more of a hotel that had gaming. Then by 1989, Steve Wynn came in, and he's the first one to build a major casino that was a hotel, and that was with the MGM Mirage, with the Mirage Hotel. And after that, all of a sudden, some of the other hotels started to come in, like the Luxor, New York, the MGM Grand. The MGM Grand actually moved from the street that it's on now. They had a major fire here in 1986, and I'll point out where they used to be. And after the fire, they decided to sell the property and move and start a much larger one. The MGM Grand is the largest hotel in the city right now, with over 5,000 rooms. But as soon as the Venetian finishes its second tower, the Palazzo, it will have over 7,000 rooms. So it'll be the largest hotel in the city.
Wow.
A single hotel.
Lot. Goodness gracious.
Here's Crave. That's the gay club. It's open 7 nights a week. It's alternative. In other words, it's not gay every night. I think on Friday and Saturday. Right now you're looking at the new facade of Planet Hollywood, which used to be, as I said, the Aladdin Hotel, and it was the architecture or the facade was Moorish then, looking like, the Nights, the Arabian Nights. But now that Planet Hollywood purchased it, it's become very modern and very square architecture. The Bellagio is the hotel that has what we call the dancing fountains, and they have these fountains that actually shoot up water to music and to lights, and it's quite an amazing free attraction. So this is one of the free attractions here in Las Vegas, is the Bellagio dancing fountains. And on the right you have the Paris Hotel. It's and the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower basically is 1/2 replica of the actual Eiffel Tower in Paris. And when you walk into the hotel, you also feel like you are in Paris. Caesar's Palace was, I think it opened in around 1966. Of course, a much smaller version than you see right now. People loved Caesar's Palace when it first opened in the 60s. And Frank Sinatra, when he was finished, when he wasn't performing at the Sands any longer, he decided to come over here to Caesar's Palace. And so now we're going to get to the part of the Strip where in the 50s, this is all where the Strip was. Most of this wasn't even happening. As you can see, the Caesar's Palace is quite a large piece of property, and what people don't realize that, when we say just go, oh, it's just the next hotel over, that could be almost 5 or 6 blocks that you might be used to walking, because they're humongous.
Yeah, Vegas blocks are pretty huge. But the good news, if you got a good pair of walking shoes, want to hop on board the monorail, or better yet, get with Thanks Bab Stores and she'll give you a first-class tour on the Strip. It's worth seeing. I mean, it is the highlight of Vegas, and it is happening.
We have in front of us the fashion show of Las Vegas. This is also an upscale mall. We have 5 department stores in there. Oh yeah, here's the new Frontier. They're actually going to throw this down now. That's why it's closed up.
Really?
They're going to be imploding it at the beginning of the year. This was the last of the older hotels that were here on the Strip. This was the second hotel that was ever built on the Strip here. So that was in the early 40s. And they're just throwing that down now for a new huge, actually the people who own the plaza are going in and building a huge resort here. We're coming to the Riviera Hotel. The Riviera Hotel basically was, in 1955 it opened. They called it the Riv. And Liberace, who we actually, you're going to see, the Liberace Museum. Liberace actually performed here at the Riviera. He also performed at the Sahara. And here's the original Circus, which was really the first theme hotel for families. They still have circus acts that go on there, and it's still probably one of the best bargains on the Strip. Yeah, we're getting down to the stratosphere and the Sahara. And here, this is where I remember I was telling you where the first hotel that was open that had to do with gaming was here, called the El Rancho Hotel.
Right.
In the 60s, it burnt down, and they've never built anything. But they're starting MGM Grand.
Jeez.
The MGM Mandalay Bay Corporation bought all of this property over here because they own Circus. And they're going to build everything that they're going to build from this end all the way up to the Echelon Place will be an MGM property. And here's the Sahara. This is where Keely Smith and Louis Prima, and as I said, Liberace first were the headliners. In the 50s, when the mob came here, they realized they needed more than just a being hotel or gaming. That's when they first brought in like the Tony Bennett's, the Frank Sinatras to perform here. So that then it was the show that was the important thing. And Frank Sinatra brought it away from being like a little cowboy town, because he started to come out in tuxedos, and Liberace was coming out in his sequined outfits. So it changed it. It moved it away from being like, just the frontier cowboy town of Las Vegas to something that was
something different.
Up several notches. So now we're headed down the older section of Las Vegas to Fremont Street. So that'll conclude our tour of the Las Vegas Strip as we head down to Fremont Street.
You were saying that Boulder City, Nevada.
Yes, Nevada.
Nevada.
You gotta say it Nevada. You can't say Nevada.
It's like Australia, like Melbourne.
Right.
You can't say Melbourne. You
Nope.
can say Melbourne.
Right.
Okay, so Boulder City, Nevada.
Nevada.
You cannot. There's no gambling.
Absolutely no gaming, no prostitution. Not that prostitution really is legal, but there are.
And don't say no drinking.
No, you're allowed to drink because in the
Finally.
in the 60s they were allowed. The city council allowed drinking there. So.
But when it started, nothing.
Nothing. No gaming, no drinking.
It was just a real like Puritan sort of town.
Absolutely.
Like all the way.
All the
Nothing.
way.
Couldn't do anything.
And that's why Fremont Street of Las Vegas became the hub of the gaming during that era.
That's fascinating.
Because they had to go down Boulder Highway, which was named because of Boulder City, into Fremont Street, and we'll see that later.
I got to tell you, this is really dynamic behind us. What exactly do we have again behind us? This is like a painting. I mean,
it is. Well, what you have is
gorgeous.
A portion of Lake Mead, and Lake Mead, of course, is the vessel where all the water is being stored that's coming from the Colorado, and the reason for Hoover Dam. And this was named after Mr. Mead, who was one of the main engineers for Hoover Dam.
Incredible. Well, I got to say that leaving Vegas, going into the mountains, and then sort of, like I said, all those little transitions that we had was amazing and dynamic. And this is just the start of what we're going to see when we get across to, what's our final destination? It's going to be...
We're going to actually go over into Arizona for a second.
We're going to be stepping across into Arizona. We're going to see a river. The Colorado River. The Colorado River.
Yes.
And
the Colorado River flows from Wyoming all the way down to the Gulf of California.
So on our next stop, I think that we're going to see lots of water and lots of mountains, a lot more than what we're seeing now. But we want to thank you for taking us this far, and then we're going to continue on with Babs of Thanks Babs Tours.
And the Day Tripper.
And we'll catch you further down on the Colorado River.
So follow us.
Well, we've hooked up with Connie, our tour guide for Hoover Dam and for the rest of the afternoon. And on the way down, I got to tell you, the views were so amazing. All the mountains, the hills, the ridges, the old formations from the previous volcanic activity, it was all stunning. I could even see from the drive down the two spots, one side on Arizona and one on Nevada, where they're actually putting the new bridge in, which will connect the two sides together. And that in itself was pretty cool. Then we got to see the grand shot of the Hoover Dam and, of course, the Black Canyon on the way down. But what was really, really cool was taking that hairpin turn to get around to see the magnificent drop that would take us right down to the base of Hoover Dam. Now, I got to tell you, it is scary, but if you got a trusted tour guide, you can't go wrong, and Connie was it. Now, for your information, you gotta have a tour guide. You gotta book with Connie or one of the people at the facility to be able to get down here to see Hoover Dam in its spectacular as we have. You can't just sort of stumble down and walk down and take a tour guide with your friends. So remember, pre-book it. It'll serve you well.
Sales manager, the director of sales and marketing. So I'm out, promoting the product, but when I get to come down here and actually show people, what we have down here, it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a new adventure every day. It must look totally different.
There's
the sun's hitting it differently,
right.
and it's great. That's
They're
gorgeous.
delayed about 2 or 3 years right now because last fall those big towers, there's 2 on the Arizona side and 2 on the Nevada side that pulled those cables across.
Yep.
Got caught with some wind and they fell.
Wow.
So it delayed.
This is gorgeous. Like I said, one of the things with our show is we are making an effort on Gay Getaways to get off the main drags, if you will, of a lot of any city. They've got their main strip, and thank God for the main strips. But there's so many different things to do off the strip, and just go out a little bit, because you've got adventures, you've got tours, you've got this, and it makes for a great blend, with all the rest of it.
Because,
so,
if you were to stay on the strip inside the hotels, you would be clueless,
yeah, and we've done that before. Yeah, I'll tell you, when I went to Vegas before, I always would go, I'd fly in, take the taxi to the hotel, check into a hotel, and you go to a few of the big ones, and you do the slot machines and have your drinks and have the buffets, and then you leave.
And there's so much
and
more.
We've been able to now show a whole other side that a lot of people probably never knew existed. So, and it's only going to get better. Yeah, here comes our boat coming up here.
Well, I got corrected on that really fast. It's not a boat. In fact, it's a 30-man raft. And they say that if you want to tour for an hour, 2 hours, or more, you can come down and they'll even serve you lunch for an afternoon. So if you're looking for that perfect experience with the greatest views and you want to just de-stress, then this has got to be the trip for you.
For someone who knows nothing about it.
Was the first female pilot that the company ever had.
For these
rafts.
rafts.
Was the very first female pilot that was ever certified to.
So she started when she was 5, or?
Yeah. Well, being down here's been kind of a blessing in disguise. I'm from the area. My grandfather worked here at the dam. So to be able to come down here and work in the area, it's been pretty special.
No, that would have been interesting. Your grandfather, you would have seen pictures of it way back. I mean, was it similar now, or has it changed a lot?
Boulder City's changed a lot. Las Vegas has changed a great deal. I have photos, towers that are leaning out from the canyon walls. He helped. He was an electrician, got a job out here with the Department of Water and Power, City of Los Angeles.
Wow.
And so they built the towers across the desert, and their last project were to put these towers that lean out from the canyon walls. If I had known, when he was still alive, that I would be doing this, I would have asked a lot more questions.
Yeah.
But as it is, I think it gives me a connection to the area. It gives me a connection to the river when I first started working down here. I'm from the area, so I've always lived here.
Yeah.
So, it was a perfect match, and to be able to get outside and, I have an educational background, and this is just a big open classroom.
I was going to say, it is an open classroom, and to be able to have your job and Connie's job and Jerry's job, I think the only thing better than my job would be their job, because you just get to see this every day.
Right.
And just sort of bring it in.
Right. Well, people come into Las Vegas, and it's a big fantasy world. There is a certain amount of opulence to it, and then they come down here, and it's such a natural, it's an overwhelming natural element. And to be able to present that to them in a safe, very beautiful, manner is, it can't get much
Doesn't
better
get better
than
than that.
And like I said, and then to have a connection to the area just makes it better.
Well, that's one of the things about our show, that we are taking people in every city, in every town that we go to. There's main drags and main strips, but there's a lot of stuff off the strip. If you
Oh.
just go off the strip just 1 or 2 blocks or 30 minutes,
Right.
then you've got this. And this is absolutely magnificent.
Right.
Okay, so here we are with Jerry, and we're down here. Is this like the base,
This is the
you'd
base
call
of
it?
Hoover Dam.
Of Hoover
yes,
Dam?
Yes.
And how long has this sort of thing been going, this sort of tour? This is great. Wow.
These tours have operated since the early 80s. I think 1983 was the first year that they started in operation here. They almost went bankrupt the first year because there was also very high water here in 1983.
Really?
And as you'll be able to see here, the tunnels, these are the diversion tunnels that they used during the construction of the dam to divert the river. Well, after the tunnels were no longer needed to divert the river, they engineered those into other phases of operation. The 2 tunnels closest to the dam bring the water from Lake Mead to produce the electricity. The 2 tunnels closest to us are part of the system devised in the event they cannot control the level of Lake Mead.
Oh, wow.
Lake Mead goes above flood stage. The system works like your sinks at home when your sinks, yes. When you leave the plug in the water running, the water gets up to a certain point and safely spills over.
Yeah, okay.
Well, in 1983, the spillways, the water was into the spillways down and shot out of these 2 tunnels.
Oh,
It
wow.
came together just about where we're setting.
Goodness
with
gracious.
so much force, it shot a column of water right straight up into the sky here about 60 feet.
Wow.
And that's only happened once since the dam was completed.
Goodness
in
gracious.
1935.
And
Today-
fortunately, there wasn't one of these sitting in its zone. So, you know, like,
No, but this company was in operation then.
Oh,
and-
my
And they
gosh.
could not work. They were not able to get on the river for over 2 months.
really?
And they almost went bankrupt the first year.
Now, why was that? Why'd they have to wait 2 months?
Well, there was so much water in here that they couldn't safely operate
Oh,
their
so
raft
it all
rides.
just gushed in, and then you got to just wait for
They
everything
had-
to
they
just
had
sort
wait
of
till it
settle back
became
down.
Safe
Okay.
enough to put the
Now,
raft
what we're
on
on now is not really a boat.
It is a
You
raft.
said it's a raft.
It's a raft.
It's a sort of a Rolls Royce of rafts, though. This is nice.
Yeah, I would say it's a Rolls Royce. 4 pontoons. Each pontoon has 4 separate air compartments. We tell everyone that the rafts will not sink, but we have life jackets on board for everybody, just in case.
Now, I was got to tell you, you know what? Connie, I thought, who's right over here, I thought Connie had the perfect job, but I think actually he's got even a better job.
I have the perfect
And
job.
over there, Donald, in the background, we've actually got some kayakers out here. And so is this like a normal thing? There's a lot of, kayakers and
Yeah, we
people
have to,
can come
we,
down here. Or,
unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending
Yes,
on
yeah.
your view, share the canyon with
Yeah.
the kayakers.
well, I guess in a good sense, this isn't too large. And then they're even smaller, so, it doesn't take that much space up,
No,
which is
no.
good.
This is just the start of our trip, too. Going downstream, we see evidence of the hot springs.
Wow.
We also, most every day, see the desert bighorn sheep, often down at the water's edge drinking from the river.
Wow.
We have various birds here, ospreys. Occasionally we see the bald eagles. There are at least 4 mating pairs of peregrine falcons that nest in this 12-mile section that our raft trip covers.
That's great. Excellent. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to do off the strip, and now we've been able to prove that. We went off the strip a little bit, and this is probably, I don't know, maybe about a half an hour outside of Vegas, and it's spectacular. What can I say?
Well, the bald eagles are spectacular, but
Yeah.
we see those on a very limited amount of time. I think I've seen the bald eagle twice this entire season on the river. Now, the most spectacular wildlife that we see are the desert bighorn sheep. When they built the dam, it was the first time man ever controlled the Colorado River.
Wow.
So they weren't exactly sure what to expect downstream once the water had been released back into the river system. So the gaugers kept track of the river. Inside that concrete cylinder, there's a measuring stick or measuring rod where they would track river fluctuation with. And then they had an instrument to drop into the water to tell them how fast the current was. With those readings, they would estimate how much water was passing through this point, and then that information was used downstream for irrigation purposes. It was handled in that manner from 1939 until 1958. Then the system was automated, and today it's
Goodness.
part of a computer system.
Wow. Now I know that we're doing like a condensed version of the tour, but how long or what's the shortest tour and what's the longest tour that you can do? This looks like it goes on for miles.
Well, typically we do a 3-hour tour. That would be considered a normal tour.
Oh, wow.
That includes at least 2 stops along the river, and one of those stops is where we have our lunch. We stop for a half hour or so and have a lunch. We can
That's
shorten
great.
those up by eliminating the lunch.
Sure, sure.
Water-wise, you're on the river 2 to 2.5 hours just moving on the water.
Wow, that's a nice tour though.
It's a
3
nice
hours
tour.
with lunch and
In the middle of the summer, they think it's so hot down here that this is not a good trip. But actually, even in the middle of the summer, it's a great trip because we have the river. The river is 52 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, so it's very refreshing.
I could definitely see where 3 hours would go pretty quick here, especially with a nice lunch.
Yes.
And it is nice to get off the strip and see this and to experience this firsthand, because I've been told so many wonderful things about it. Okay, and I still have my sunglasses on. It's actually getting warmer and sunnier and gorgeous down here. And Jerry, I want to thank you for giving us an amazing tour, a smooth tour. We started with Babs and then went to Connie and wound up with Jerry, and it gets better and better along the way. So the next time you see us, we're going to go back toward the top, talk to a few more people, and then eventually wind up off the strip in Las Vegas.
Man, I'll tell you, that was incredible. The boats, the view, the mountains. I don't ever think I want to leave this place, but I have to. And that was a day.
Up one, up two, and there we go. So there we go. That was an amazing tour, Connie.
Thank you. Greg, I might, if you have a moment, introduce you to Kathleen. Kathleen has been with the company for 20 plus years. We were talking about the tenure of our pilots. But Kathleen has been with the company for almost 20 years, and Kathleen was the first female pilot that the company ever had.
For these
rafts.
rafts.
Was the very first female pilot that was ever certified to.
So she
run
started
the
when she was
so.
5, or?
Yeah, right. So Kathleen, Greg.
Kathleen, hey, welcome to my show.
Nice to meet
yeah,
you.
Greg Osborne.
Yes.
So tell us about your experience with this sort of job.
Well, being down here's been kind of a blessing in disguise. I'm from the area. My grandfather worked here at the dam. So to be able to come down here and work in the area, you know, it's been pretty special.
Now that would have been interesting. Your grandfather, you would have seen pictures of it way back. I mean, was it similar now, or has it changed a lot?
Boulder City's changed a lot. Las Vegas has changed a great deal. You know, I have photos, towers that are leaning out from the canyon walls. He helped. He was an electrician, got a job out here with the Department of Water and Power, City of Los Angeles.
Wow.
And so they built the towers across the desert, and their last project were to put these towers that lean out from the canyon walls. If I had known, you know, when he was still alive, that I would be doing this, I would have asked a lot more questions.
Yeah.
But as it is, you know, I think it gives me a connection to the area. It gives me a connection to the river when I first started working down here. I'm from the area, so I've always lived here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a perfect match, you know, and to be able to get outside and, you know, I have an educational background, and this is just a big open classroom.
Saying that, you know, they can come down for a 3-hour tour or a shorter tour. You can have lunch. And like I said, you know, it is definitely a great escape away from the main strip.
Oh, correct.
I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being on my show. And like I said, the kayaking, the birds, to be able to see that. I hope that we can see some hot springs and goats on the way out. And I know I keep doing this a lot, but things
It's a
keep
desert.
shifting, and it's desert, and there's water, and I want to thank you guys again. This is Greg Osborne, Gay Getaways. We'll see you further up on the hill, and then eventually back off the Strip in Las Vegas. I want to thank you, Babs, for everything. I mean, it was really, really a great exploration. I think what you've been able to show us and, you know, all the viewers is you can have a great time on the Strip. I want to thank you for that
Absolutely.
terrific tour strip that you gave us. And you can have a lot of extra fun even off the Strip. Just go a couple blocks off, or if you want to go a half an hour out of town, you can get out there. And, you know, we covered a lot of ground getting out there to the Hoover Dam, and I want to thank you for everything, because like I said, you know, I think we've been able to open up the viewers to a whole nother world that's out there.
Absolutely, and I wanted really to share with your audience my Las Vegas. And it's more than just the Strip. It's a lot of beyond the neon stuff where you can get out and enjoy the outdoors. And then in the evening go back, and then you can go to your great restaurants, and you can go to your clubs, or you can just meet in a quiet little pub and enjoy Las Vegas with your friends. So it's just really a very diverse place.
So whether you're on the Strip or off the Strip, just come to Vegas, enjoy it, and tell them that Greg Osborne from Gay Getaways sent you.